God protects and provides. In our last story, we learned about how far God would go to set his people free. As Pharaoh's heart grew harder and more cruel, God's resolve to redeem his people remained steadfast. God's people were freed from 430 years of slavery and oppression. In this story, we will learn about Israel's journey through redemption and how the path to the Promised Land is not straight and narrow, as inspired by the book of Exodus. They would never forget that day. The angel of the Lord passed through Egypt like a thief in the night, and in an instant his people were free. God told Moses to remember and celebrate that day for generations. Thus the Passover feast was established, a day to celebrate God's mighty hand breaking the shackles that once bound all of Israel. So Israel fled to the wilderness. A roar of applause and laughter could be heard from miles away as thousands of Hebrews left their torturous home in pursuit of a new beginning. They ventured forth towards the Red Sea, avoiding the land of the Philistines, lest they fall into battle and have to retreat back to Egypt. Although Moses was in front of them, God was their leader. By day, a pillar of smoke could be seen in the distance to guide them. At night, a pillar of fire lit up the horizon as the sun, and it did not depart from the people. After a few days of travel, the Israelites came to the coast of the Red Sea to camp. The waters were vast, and the sea crashed on the shore like thunder. God pulled Moses in close and spoke to him, saying, "Pharaoh will pursue you, but I will get glory from Pharaoh and all his people. All of Egypt shall know that I am the Lord. I am the protector of my people, and nobody will harm you." Moses gulped as he looked upon the vastness of the Red Sea. If Pharaoh really was going to pursue them, they were trapped. Miles away, Pharaoh soaked in his own anger. He, his servants, and all his people had suffered a loss unlike any nation before them, and now they were unable to rebuild because their 600,000 slaves had all departed at once. He would be written in history as the king who was defeated by the god of slaves. Pharaoh's mind raced, and his council shared in his anger. "How could I have let this happen?" he whispered to himself. His eyes glared forward towards the doors Moses had once stepped through. He arose from his throne and called for his chariot. 600 chariots rode into the wilderness like a hurricane. They ran through the night violently, leaving a cloud of dust and sand behind them. Pharaoh would not be made a fool of. Like lightning they rode, ready to capture back their slaves and kill any who opposed them. In his mind and heart, Pharaoh was going through his own battle with God, and his heart grew even harder than before. They ascended the hills that descended on the other side to the shore, and Pharaoh, with his army, sought to overtake the Hebrews.